just going to get stuck in. Rangers at home to Celtic. It's effectively the title decider, this one, isn't it?
I think from Rangers' standpoint, I think if Rangers can win this game, it puts a really healthy gap in between the two teams. And, we're halfway through the season, and more than halfway through the season now. So I think it would definitely be significant. I don't think anyone would be claiming the title after a win, but I think it can definitely go a long way to sealing it.
Well, both sides are performing pretty well at the moment. Defence is going to be crucial here.
Rangers in particular, their record, I think it's 5 goals all season in the league's unprecedented in terms of how many goals they're giving up. So if that continues throughout the whole season and, in the big game, then I think there's a great chance that, Rangers are going to be successful. But defences, play a big part, and Rangers have definitely looked very assured in that department throughout the season.
Lee and Odsonne up front, they're quite a potent pairing. Do you think that they're going to cause Rangers trouble here?
They definitely will. And, historically, both of those guys in the past have caused Rangers lots of problems. They've not, I wouldn't say they've played a lot together. It seems like, Celtic are still finding their feet in terms of finding their best team and best formation and a little bit of normality in the team. So Rangers have got that, Celtic don't. But I'm sure with those two guys up front, you've definitely got a chance. So if they are in the starting team, then it'll be a worry for Rangers. But as we said, Rangers' defence is so strong that I'm sure they'll be more than confident at coping with that.
What are you expecting to see on the second?
It's always strange when there's no fans there. Ultimately that will be the biggest disappointment. It won't be the atmosphere that we all love and like being a part of. So I'll be looking for an open game. You just hope that Rangers play to the level they have been playing in the big games. You hope that Celtic are competitive and it's a good open game. It's an exciting game. There's a lot at stake. I think both teams realise that. Rangers are very settled. The team almost picks itself. There'll be one or two choices, I'm sure, for the manager, but the team almost picks itself. Whereas Celtic are still kind of trying to find that team and trying to find that settled selection. So there'll be a few question marks, I'm sure, in the manager's mind leading up to the game. But you just want an exciting game, I'm sure, end to end, and obviously the right result at the end of it as well. What
would a win mean to Rangers as a team and to the supporters, David?
I think it would go a long way to getting that, that elusive 55th title. I think that is ultimately where the Rangers fans are at. They're desperate for that success. It's been such a long time since Rangers last won the league. Celtic, it's obviously an unbelievable season for them in terms of what they potentially could achieve as well. So, the real opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of where they are. But Rangers seems to be the team in form and very settled. Celtic are still, as I've said, scrambling around trying to find the right team and trying to find something that's going to work for them. And, Rangers will be going into the game very confident, looking forward to it. But it's a massive game for both teams, and the Rangers fans will be praying that they can get on top in this game and establish that gap that can, be a real big buffer for the remainder of the season.
You've talked about defence. Who's really impressing you at Rangers at the moment, David?
I think it's a collective. I think, as I've said, the team's been very settled. Alan McGregor in goal, the back four and the team almost picks itself. James Tavernier at right backs, got great statistics in terms of what he's doing in the opposite end of the field, but also his defensive stuff has improved, and he's been utilised in the right areas. And Borna Barisic on the other side, again, very similar to James in terms of the quality he's got in the attacking third, and maybe not recognised as much for his defensive aspects. But the collective alongside Connor Goldson, and usually it's one of the other two centre-backs, it can be Liam Balogun or Philip Helander usually. So there's just a real sort of depth and a real solidity to the Rangers team. So I think if they can get that unit right and perform as it has done throughout the season, that's always the worry. This is the one game where it doesn't perform. But based on what we've seen so far, then Rangers will be very confident going into that. And with that solid base and the players ahead of that, I think they're in a really good place.
Who's going to win and by how much?
Well, obviously, I'm going to say Rangers, and form would tell you that Rangers are the favourites going into the game. They're undefeated in the league. They're scoring goals. They're not conceding goals, as we've discussed, and they're in a really good place. But the only worry is things are probably going a little bit too well, and at some stage there will be a bump in the road. Hopefully, it's not in this game. Hopefully Rangers can win this game and get that gap secured. But I really fancy Rangers. I'm really confident going into the game that the team's in a good place. They're well coached, they're well managed, and they seem to be in a good moment at this time. So very excited to watch the game and looking forward to a positive result.
If we can just turn our attention to the Premier League for a second and to Everton, they're sitting in 4th place at the moment. How are you? What are your thoughts on how they're performing? Can they secure that Champions League spot? Can they win the league?
The winning the league might be a little bit of a push, but I think it's exciting for all Everton fans now. It's an exciting league. There's obviously been lots of difficulties this season in terms of not having crowds and stop start and games. Everton's last game being postponed, which wasn't helpful. But Liverpool dropped points last night, and everybody seems to be staying in a bunch, and Everton are definitely in that bunch. So that's exciting. And the team have gone through a bad spell already. I think they lost 3 in a row, which hopefully we won't see that again. So they've come out of that. They're getting their best players back in the team. And although winning the league, in my opinion, might be a little bit of a push, it's nice to see Everton competing at the top end of the table again. And there's definitely an opportunity to do something special there. And the Everton fans will definitely be excited by that. And they're excited by the team, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison. They've got players in the team now who they can really identify with and they're excited about. And, they really feel that they're competitive against the best teams in the league.
Ancelotti's done a fantastic job, hasn't he?
He has. He seems to get what Everton's all about. I think it's been clever having Duncan Ferguson round about him as well, who, led the team so well just prior to Carlo coming in. And it seems to have got a nice spirit and a nice way of playing, and it's encouraging to watch. And Carlo Ancelotti's record speaks for itself. Everton will be delighted to have him, and he seems to be doing what he's always done. Being successful at the clubs he's been at, and Everton want to make the most of that and turn it into a really special season.
If you don't mind, I'd love to get your opinion, just while we're talking about the Premier League, on the furore currently over Karen Carney and that tweet from Leeds United. I'd just love to get your take on it, David.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit below the belt in terms of, it was an opinion she expressed. I think that's why she's there. She's there to give her opinion in terms of what she thinks, and it might not everyone agrees with it, but maybe the way they responded, it was a bit unfair and not what you'd expect. But hopefully they address that, and everyone's entitled to their opinion, and it might not be everyone's opinion, and I'm sure people will disagree, but I think there's a ways and means of doing that, and that, in my opinion, probably wasn't the right way to do it.
There's been huge support for her across social media and in the news, right across the sports spectrum. People have been speaking out in support of her, which is great, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is, and I think people genuinely believe that it's great to see women involved in the front line of football talking about it, discussing it, playing it and giving their opinion, and likewise with men on women's football as well. I think it's really important that there is that crossover, and that Karen's a good example of somebody with a good opinion. There's lots of girls out there now who have got great opinions on the game, and they're valued, and I think the more we can have of that within the game, I think it's great for all the kids out there. We can see their opinions as important as anyone else's, regardless of sex, gender, or where you come from. So I think it's really important that that message is strong, and I think that's been reinforced recently by everyone.
Do you think that we have gender equality across football now? Do you think it exists, or do you think we still have a way to go?
I think we've still got a way to go, but I think everything, in many instances, there are improvements to be made, and I think we're getting there. I think we're going in the right direction. I've got a daughter who plays at a relatively competitive level, and football's a great leveler in a lot of respects, and I think we should try and use it in that regard to create equality and in lots of respect, as I said, in sex, gender, and many other different ways. So I think we're getting there. It's definitely not finished there. It's not a finished product. It's a work in progress, but there are positive steps out there, and I just think it's important that we, and when we're talking about it, we reinforce it and we encourage it and we support it, as has been shown by the example with Karen.
Very well said, David. Before you go, I wanted to mention COVID. Sam Allardyce looking for a 2-week break there. What's your perspective on that?
I don't want a break. I think that's the first thing. I think we're all, with the way the world is now, if we can keep football going for as long as we can and still everyone looking forward to those games, I think that's probably been the one thing that we've had consistently throughout this really difficult time. So me personally, I'm not in favour of any form of break if we don't have to. I think that's the one thing that we can all cling on to at the moment. So I understand Sam's sentiments in terms of why he's saying that, and we all want rid of this virus. There's no doubt about that. But I think football and the bubbles that the football clubs are working within, if we can just tighten that up, and there will be instances of cases whereby players and staff are picking it up, but if we can minimise that and continue the product as much as we can and keep the football on the screens or wherever fans can get access to, I think that would be a healthy outlet for a lot of people. So, long may that continue.
We need our football, don't take
We
away
do.
our
We do.
football. Just finally, your New Year's resolutions, David. We're leaving 2020 far behind us now, into a new year. What do you hope for?
I think we're all in the same boat, aren't we, with that one? I think we just want to get rid of this virus and get back to normality, get football fans back in the stadium. I think one of the positives of this thing is realising how much fans add to the atmosphere of games, how much they bring to the whole spectacle of a football match, and how much people love going to watch their team. And unfortunately, a lot of fans have been deprived of that, and both the good and the bad times. And the sooner we get back to that and get significant numbers of people in stadiums, which is obviously associated with getting rid of this virus as well. So a combination of both of those things, that'll be mine, and I'm sure a lot of other people's New Year's wish as well.
Thank you so much for joining us here on Football Pass again. Can't wait to catch up with you in 2021.
Yeah, likewise. No, I really enjoyed it. Nice to see you.